a car to be able to go every day to work at Burger King. And every day I wonder how our lives could have been different if I made $15 an hour, and in which ways I would have been able to help him. And that's what we're fighting for those $15 an hour.
Mi hijo nunca tuvo la oportunidad de comprar su carro. Un camión lo atropelló. Una noche cuando estaba saliendo del Burger King, mi hijo murió antes de salir del estacionamiento. Ahora solo pienso, si solo hubiese podido ganar lo suficiente y para ayudarle y comprar el carro, ¿estaría vivo hoy?
My son never had the opportunity to buy his car. A truck hit him one night when he was leaving his job at Burger King. He died before leaving the parking lot. Now, the only thing I think about is, if I had been able to make enough money, I would have helped him buy his car, and he would be alive today.
Sé que no soy la única mujer ni madre atrapada en la pobreza sistemática creada, no por nuestra vagancia o falta de trabajar, sino por los políticos y su decisión a bloquear un salario digno, el derecho de la salud y la asistencia gubernamental.
I know that I'm not the only woman, I'm not the only mother who is trapped in poverty, in systematic poverty that has been created not because we're lazy or because we don't work, but because of politicians and their decision to block living wage, the right to health care, and also for governmental support and public assistance.
Por esa razón, me uno a los miles de personas en 40 días de acciones pacíficas y directas como parte del Poor People Camping.
This is why I am joining thousands of people for these 40 days of actions, of nonviolent direct actions, as part of the Poor People's Campaign.
Paramos juntos hoy, hombro a hombro, como trabajadores luchando por el derecho al organizarnos, luchando por justicia para nuestras familias. Unidos podemos obtener los cambios necesarios para que nos dejen de tomar la ventaja, para que no tengamos que preocuparnos por no cuidar a nuestras familias y para que podamos ser tratados con la dignidad que merecemos todos como seres humanos.
We are here standing today, shoulder by shoulder, as workers, fighting for the right to organize, fighting for justice for our families. Together, we can be able to achieve the changes that are needed so that we can make our own decisions, and so that we don't have to worry about not being able to take care of our families, and for us to be able to be treated with dignity that we deserve, as any human being deserves.
That's it.
Sé que mi hijo estaría aquí hoy con nosotros, listo y complaciente al ser arrestado, listo a romper el silencio y hablar acerca de los cambios que necesitamos right now, hoy.
I know that my son, if he could, he would be here, standing with us, ready to be arrested, ready to break the silence and to talk about all the changes that are needed, that we need to see today.
Give it up. And we're not going to allow them to separate us, black over here, Latino over here, white over here. We know that the same people that vote against living wages vote against immigrant justice. We know the real reason they don't want to have immigrant justice and to have people citizens, because they'll take their tax money, they'll take their work, but they don't want to take their votes to be at the ballot box. We want full citizenship. Right? We know there's 62 million people who work every day without a living wage. 62 million. And we're standing together. We're coming together. Get your water, because we're getting ready to take the streets in a minute. We got 3 more leaders. Make sure you've got your flyers. Are you ready? Yeah. every Monday at 2 o'clock. Nonviolent moral fusion direct action for the next 6 weeks. And then on the 23rd, a massive rally and solidarity. And we are going to announce even some other countries later that are coming in to be with us. Now, you got to cry in a movement, but you also have to have some music power in a movement, because one scripture says the joy of the Lord is strength. Joy is strength. So we want 1 minute before Liz brings on 3 powerful women. While our president is getting bigots and religious heretics to do work in other countries, like what's happening today, and trying to turn people against each other, Jews and Muslims and Palestinian and Jews, and killing people and talking about God's way. And the very ministers that he uses, they don't like Palestinians or Jews. They just love the money they get and their misguided theology that's rooted in wrong and in hurt, and more about imperialism than about lifting people together. So we stand, but today in this spot, you will see a Christian woman, a Muslim, and a rabbi stand here together and talk about justice and fusion and standing up. This is the power that must not only happen in the United States, but it must happen around the world. But before we get that, do you want a revolution? Do you want a revolution? Are you sure you want a revolution? All right, don't y'all mess me up. Don't y'all mess me up. Don't you mess me up, though. Come on, bring it up.
Neither shall they thirst anymore. Preach up. For God shall wipe
Bring it up. Bring it up. Bring the music up. Bring the music up. Bring the music up. Bring.
What we learn from history is that when those that are most impacted by injustice team up with moral leaders and all people of goodwill, that's when change can happen. Today, we are making our voices heard. We are linking ourselves arm in arm, and we are going to make this country stop in its tracks. Wail, the wail of a mother whose daughter is no more.
That's right. That's right.
Cry, the cry of a mother whose son is no more. Scream out.
That's right.
The screams of children who have lost their parents because they don't have health care, because they don't have housing. So we are standing here together. And when people step forward, others join them. We have 3 powerful witnesses that we want to hear from now. We have Reverend Terry Hord Owens, the head of the Disciples of Christ Christian Church.
And we're going to ask them to come together and stand together. But I want to ask those that are under the tree here, we need shh. One of the things, shh, everybody. One of the things we're fighting is attention violence. If we can't pay attention for an hour, then we can't criticize the politicians. If we can't stand, unless you're sick, if we can't stand in tough weather and heat, how can we stand up for homeless people who have to do it every day? So I want to ask those of you, unless you have a physical condition, to come in front of the stage. To come in front of the stage. Tell the person beside you, we can't commit the sin that we are standing against. You hear what I said? Y'all act like I'm not saying nothing. We can't commit the sin. We can't be talking while the poor people are speaking and then get mad if the Congress people don't listen. The ethic of a movement has to reflect the policies of a movement. Turn to your neighbor and say, we have to listen. We have to suffer a little bit to have credibility, to speak on behalf, and to stand with those who suffer every day. Otherwise, our movement does not have the right ethic. Right. All right. Here are these three women. A Christian woman. They'll introduce who else? A Jewish rabbi.
Sharon Browse.
And
so please welcome Linda Sarsour, Rabbi Sharon Browse, and Reverend Terry Owens. Terry, please.
Y'all come together.
Thank you. My sisters are joining me on either side, some powerful women of faith. We are here today because it matters. I am Terry Owens. I'm the General Minister and President of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ in the U.S. and Canada. Amen. I'm a Christian minister, and I'm a mother, and I'm a woman. And I'm here because children matter, moms matter, all people living in poverty matter, those that we've marginalized because of their sexual orientation or gender identity matter, those with disabilities matter. I cannot stand here and claim to be a follower of Jesus Christ and be silent about the moral outrage that is going on in our country. And all those who call themselves Christians must speak out if you understand the faith tradition that is spoken by the words of Jesus and in the scriptural heritage that we have in our texts. Over the last 30 or 50 years, the governmental programs that support poor people have been declining and been reduced. In 1968, with the Aid for Families with Dependent Children, 68% of families with people who were poor were being supported by those programs. Today, with the temporary assistance to needy families, only 23% of poor families are receiving government assistance. And a false truth has been perpetuated that somehow there is not enough. My tradition teaches me in the story of Jesus feeding the 5,000, Jesus sat on a mountain and said, oh, the people are hungry. And he asked the disciples, what do you have? What do you have? Bring to me what you have. And as they brought what they had, 5 loaves and 2 fishes, you know the story. We usually think of it as a miracle. I want to suggest to you that it's truly a parable because they brought all that they had to Jesus. Jesus blessed those resources, broke them and gave it to them. They distributed them according to the blessing of the Lord. And guess what happened? People ate until they were full. And not only were they full, but there were baskets left over. Imagine what could happen if this country were to allow the law of love to dictate how we distribute the resources that are at our disposal. Imagine what could happen if we allowed our love for one another to ensure that we all had enough. There is enough for every child in this country to have a meal, 3 meals every day. There is enough. There is enough for every family to live in decent housing that's warm in winter and cool in summer. There is enough. There is enough for every person who is sick to be treated and to recover and to have the best possible care. There is enough. And until we decide to take our resources and use them to ensure that every child, every person, every family has enough, we will not be living up to the moral traditions of each of our faith traditions. We have to decide to stand together, and my God promises me that there is enough if we choose to act now, organize, vote, and stand together. There is enough.
Good afternoon. I'm Rabbi Sharon Brous from ICAR in Los Angeles, and I stand here today representing millions of Jewish people around the country, some here in this place and many in state capitals across the country, from Bend the Arc, Tru'ah, the RAC, and so many other organizations who want to be a part of bending the arc of the moral universe toward justice. The oldest and the boldest formula for economic justice comes straight out of the Hebrew Bible. In the 50th year, the Jubilee year, the great shofar is sounded and two things happen. All of the slaves are freed and all property reverts back to its original owners. This is a holy reset button that is pressed. It is a sweeping and a revolutionary act of economic redress that is rooted in the assumption that in a just society there can be no permanent class of poor, that the destitute, the exploited, the downtrodden deserve a fair shot and they deserve their fair share. That's right. And most astonishingly, overturning those economic systems benefits not only the enslaved and the poor, it actually saves the society from breaking. Proclaim liberty throughout the land for all of its inhabitants. The liberation of the poor is a prerequisite to the liberation of all people. So I don't care what zip code you live in, how many graduate degrees you have, and how big your pension is. Because you must decide that you stand on the side of one who needs to choose between prescription drugs and groceries for her family. You must stand on the side of history with one who worries if the water that she serves her children is tainted with lead. It is inconceivable that I could live freely while my neighbor's in perpetual anxiety that she or her loved ones will be one of the thousands who will die this year from poverty. Our sacred texts are desperate for us to learn the secret of human existence, that we are all bound up in one another. Solidarity is not a choice that you can opt into or opt out of. Our shared humanity is what links our destinies one to the other. My liberation is contingent on yours, and yours is contingent on mine. This movement is rooted in the understanding of interlocking injustices and insists that we cannot fight systemic poverty while ignoring white supremacy and patriarchy. We cannot fight racism without fighting anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia. This movement is dedicated to lifting up the widow and the orphan and the stranger and depends on all of us and will free all of us. We're here today because our lives depend on it, because our nation is driven by fear, and it's mired in a failed moral narrative. It is contaminated by corruption, hypocrisy, and indecency. Our nation is the richest in the world, and yet 140 million people are poor. We know this disproportionately affects women, children, and people with disabilities. We will no longer abide a politics that invisibilizes and marginalizes and steals from those who need the most. We will no longer abide a politics of hatred, intolerance, and heartlessness that is literally poisoning the water systems of our nation. In a time of moral crisis, we need to live even more deeply and more proudly from our core convictions. And right now, there is a moral wave that is rolling across this nation. This is a wave that is fueled by the stubborn and persistent hope and infused always with love. This wave is redefining what it means to be a patriot. And it is redefining what it means to be a person of faith. Let me tell you, if you don't like what people of your faith are saying on the public stage, each of us must step forward and say, this is what a Jew looks like. This is what a Christian looks like. This is what a Muslim looks like. So today, 50 years after the assassination of Dr. King, we declare a jubilee. We lift our voices for justice. We put our bodies on the line for mercy. And together we will proclaim liberty throughout the land for the enslaved, for the poor, and for us all. Thank you, Rabbi Sharon Brous. How's everybody doing today? May peace and blessings be upon you. My name is Linda Sarsour. I was one of the national co-chairs for the Women's March on Washington. This is my colleague, Carmen Perez, one of the other national co-chairs. Bob Bland is also here today. I come here today to stand with you for justice. But I ask you as a heartbroken woman for you to stand for justice for the Palestinian people and the people of Gaza who are being killed with your taxpayer dollars. Sisters and brothers, this fight that we're having is interconnected. We are global citizens and we are all the creations of God, regardless of what side of the world we live on. And when more dollars are going to kill people across the world than they are going to schools in Chicago or to hospitals or to healthcare, that's a problem. I always wondered, why is it that the people who are united by hate and divisiveness have more resources than the people united by love, justice, and solidarity? I know that we are more than them, because I know that we are not outnumbered, but we are out-organized. Sisters and brothers, it's not okay for there are people in our country to die without health care on our watch. It's not okay for us to be separating mothers and their children on the border. It's not okay, sisters and brothers, that every day a young black man or woman is killed at the hands of law enforcement in these United States of America. Our silence is complicity in these crimes. Stop blaming it on everybody else and let's start looking within. You cannot change the condition of a people if they are not prepared to change their own conditions. I come here as a Muslim because my faith teaches me that I must stand with the most vulnerable people in my society. My God doesn't just tell me to go pray in the mosque. This act that we're doing today is an act of worship because my God is a practical God. My God tells me feed the hungry, feed the homeless. My God tells me welcome the refugees. My God tells me to open my home to my neighbors. That is my God, the God of Abraham. Sisters and brothers, our dear brother Malcolm X said, freedom. If you're not willing to die for it, take that word out of your mouth. That's right. Just a few days before when Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated, the day before he called his mother to tell her that he was going to give a sermon on Sunday that he wasn't able to give. And he told his mother that the name of the sermon was America May Go to Hell. That's right. Sisters and brothers, I don't understand how we live in a country where millions of people call themselves the people of God, and we are all looking to thrive and live in an eternity in heaven, but we live in a country that we could argue may have already went to hell. So I'm here today to tell you that you can count on us, our communities, Muslim communities, women across the country who have joined the Poor People's Campaign at state capitals, that we will not be silent, that we will be unapologetic, and that we are willing to put our lives on the line for the most marginalized people in our society. And I'll tell you one more reason why I do this work and why you see me out here on these streets. Because one day I'm going to meet my Lord. And my Lord's going to ask me, where were you when there were homeless people on your streets? Where were you when people were dying because they didn't have access to health care on your watch? Where were you when unarmed black people were being killed on the streets of your communities? I'm going to stand tall, and I'm going to stand proud, And I'm going to tell my Lord I made you proud, and I used every blessing that you gave me to stand up for your creation, because his creation was put on this earth to be loved equally. God made us all different. He could have made us all the same.
That's right.
He had the power to make us all the same, but he chose to make us all different, to test us, to see the depthness of our faith and whether we were prepared to love every single one of his creations. So today we do civil disobedience, but this, for those who it's your first time, I hope it ain't your last time. See you on the streets.
That's it. See you on the streets. Let's thank God for Carmen, for Linda, Shannon, for Dr. Terry Owens. I wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere but to hear these three women, Jewish, Muslim, and Christian, take us to the altar and call this nation to the altar. Now, we're getting ready to hit the streets. Not for the only time, the first time in these 6 weeks. Tell everybody every Monday at 2 o'clock, this is the place to be until we build toward that massive solidarity march on the 23rd of June. 23rd of June. Now listen, here's what we're going to do. We're going to first of all have some translation of what I say into Spanish, okay? Our theme today
Pues vamos a traducir parte de lo que se va a dar en este momento, las instrucciones.
is somebody's hurting our people.
El tema de hoy es que hay alguien que está hiriendo a nuestra gente
And we won't be silent anymore.
y no vamos a seguir estando en silencio.
The focus is women in poverty,
El enfoque es mujeres en la pobreza,
children in poverty,
niños, niñas en la pobreza
and the disabled.
y los discapacitados.
Now, there were marshals that are going to begin to move the crowd.
Hay unos guías que van a estar empezando a mover a la gente.
Only the people who have on the armbands and went through the training are going to do the direct action and civil disobedience today.
Solo las personas que tienen la cinta en el brazo y que ya hicieron la capacitación para la acción directa son las personas que van a hacer la acción directa el día de hoy.
Make sure I have an armband.
Asegúrense de darme a mí una cinta, por favor.
Those who are going today, clergy and impacted persons, are already in line. They know their place. Make sure that you have water.
Y las personas que son parte de la comunidad religiosa, el clero, aquellos que son directamente impactados, ustedes ya saben cuál es su lugar también. Por favor, vayan a sus lugares en un momento y también lleven agua.
My Jewish tradition would say we're just parting the waters like Moses.
Y los de la tradición judía dicen que él está repartiendo el agua como Moisés.
Everybody, let's listen up. Shh.
Que escuchemos, por favor.
This is a nonviolent,
Esta es una acción no violenta,
moral fusion direct action.
una acción directa de fusión moral.
If anybody says something out of the way, don't respond to them. Keep your eyes on the prize.
Si alguien les dice algo para como desencaminarlos, mantengan sus ojos y su atención en el premio, no dejen descarrilarse.
Liz and I will come down and we will walk and lead the group.
Yo y Liz vamos a bajar y vamos a liderar al grupo.
We will go slow enough
Vamos a ir lo suficientemente despacio
for people to follow us.
para que nos puedan seguir.
Don't bunch up, those of you that are going.
No se agrupen, aquellos que van a ir no se agrupen.
We have people from 37 states.
Tenemos personas de 37 estados.
I need the people, one person from each state, to come on the stage quickly.
Necesito una persona de cada
Just
estado
one,
que
just
venga
one.
aquí a la tarima.
Let's go, not-
Solo una.
Right, one just going.
Una persona por cada estado.
Now, listen up.
Muy bien.
You all have an important role if you're not doing the action today, and that is to witness.
Todos aquellos que están acá que no van a hacer la acción directa tienen un papel muy importante, que es
And
el
to
ser testigos
And to share it.
y compartirla.
Harriet Tubman got 500 people out of slavery.
Harriet Tubman logró liberar a 500 personas de la esclavitud.
She didn't have Twitter, email.
Ella no tenía Twitter, no tenía correo electrónico.
We ought to be using everything we have.
Tenemos que usar todo lo que tenemos.
Shh, y'all gotta be quiet. To get the message out.
Para expandir el mensaje.
Liz and I will have some chants. One chant, listen, when you're going in the street, you'll hear us say living wages. Say living wages. Living wages. And then after that, I'll say, what do you want? Living wages. When do you want it? Now. The chant will be, we will say what we want before so you'll know what to say. All right, education. Education. What do we want? Education. When do we want it? Now. Health care. What do we want? When do we want it? Now. All right, you got it.
Entonces Liz y yo vamos a estar haciendo unas consignas, vamos a ir a la calle y vamos a decir salario digno, ¿qué queremos? Salario digno, ¿qué queremos? Educación, ¿qué queremos? Salud.
Remember, our focus is not on the police officers, but on the people in the Congress. Today, that's where our focus is in state capitals around this country.
Y nuestro enfoque del día de hoy no es la policía, sino los congresistas, los que están tomando decisiones en el Congreso.
You heard Linda say we have to get organized.
Ustedes escucharon a Linda decir que tenemos que organizarnos.
And be focused.
Y estar enfocados y enfocadas.
Somebody asked what was our message to the Congress people. Yes, but more importantly, our message is to the 140 million poor people. It's time to stand up.
Y alguien preguntó el día de hoy si nuestro mensaje era para el Congreso. Y sí es importante, pero nuestro mensaje es para más de las 40 millones de personas que están en pobreza en este momento.
Because once we stand up, they will not ignore.
Porque una vez nos levantemos y nos sublevemos, ellas no van a ignorarlo.
Okay, now I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to let this mic go.
Voy a
And
hacer
all I
algo.
want you to do is say, I'm from Alaska. Or I'm from Arkansas. That's it. I want the states to say where they're from.
Pues voy a
Here's
pasar
Pat.
el micrófono y que digan de qué estados son cada uno.
I'm from New Mexico and the Navajo Nation.
I'm from Kentucky! I'm from North Carolina!
I'm from Maine.
I'm from Minnesota. I'm from Rhode Island.
I'm from Delaware. Georgia. I'm from Alabama.
I'm from Illinois.
Utah, y'all. New Jersey. Missouri.
Michigan.
We'll have to the house.
Cali Nation. California.
Indiana. I'm from California, but I live in D.C.
Estoy de Texas.
I'm from Nebraska.
I'm from Vermont.
I'm from Kansas. I'm from South Carolina.
Wisconsin.
I'm repping New York.
Who's repping New York?
I'm from Pennsylvania, and I also represent the Haudenosaunee Nation.
All right.
I'm from Maryland.
I'm from Florida, and I'm representing incarcerated women in Florida. And I'm from Mississippi!
Right here. Right here. We got Arkansas. Is Arkansas already spoke?
I'm from Arkansas.
Connecticut.
Michigan in the house.
In Arkansas, in Alabama, Alaska.
And I'm from Alaska.
Where's Iowa? Where's Iowa? Okay, bring the mic on back. Arizona. Where's Arizona?
I'm from Arizona.
All right, we got it. Right. One more. Tennessee. All right. Okay, we got it. Tennessee. All right.
And right now, in states across the country, all of those states that were red, they are doing the same thing that we're doing here. Because this is a movement that is coming out of states, and we're nationalizing state-based moral movements.
That's right. Understand the tactic. In the 68, they came here. We changed the tactic a little. 6 weeks launching a movement starting in D.C. and in the 30 states because we must address what's happening in the Congress and what's happening in state capitals. Now finally, Liz and I come down. Every Monday, there's one song you listen for. Make them hear you. When you hear that song played or sung, that is when we split. Let's form the gauntlet open. Let's get it open, our marshals. Okay. Is there an imam here? So first of all, we're going to sing this song. We're going to play the shofar. But I also want us to have a moment of peace and prayer for our Muslim brothers and sisters around the world. We will not be divided. And it's Ramadan and all this killing today, children, innocent people. If you're a nonviolent, you have to be nonviolent when it comes to everything. If you're against killing, you have to be against killing, period. And so, as a Christian, I want today to say I'm a Muslim. As a Christian, I'm a Muslim today. I'm also a Jew today. But I'm a Muslim today. I'm a father who lost their son or their daughter today. And I want to say that we together, Assalamu alaikum. And I want to ask us to pray, because we will not allow imperialistic forces and white hegemony around the world to split us anymore. No more. Would we have a moment of silence? Now, would we hear the righteous, the real blowing of the shofar calls for peace, and calls for peace and everybody to treat everybody right. Might we hear that today the way it ought to be done, not being used in the way that our president and others are trying to do it. May we hear it today from my good friend and my brother.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
We do the mic check. Because our voices are stronger together.
Because our voices are stronger together.
This shofar symbolizes.
This shofar symbolizes.
Not only the Jubilee.
Not only the Jubilee.
Not only the call for justice.
Not only the call for justice.
But most importantly.
Most importantly.
The wail.
The wail.
Yes, sir.
The cry.
Yes, sir.
The cry.
So as I sound the shofar, I ask each of you to join in the wail. Raise your voice.
Raise your voice.
So as we come today, to those that have on these things, this is sackcloth and ashes. That's why they're tired. I am tired of the killing. I'm tired of the lynchings of the past and the political lynchings today, when people are dying not because God called them home, but because of policies that do not have to be. My dear sister Sharon Browse Rabbi helped me understand. I am sick and tired of having people who would add to the 6 million, 6 million and 1, 6 million and 2, 6 million and 3. You have to understand that about people. I'm tired of the millions of the indigenous people who every time another person dies is added to the legacy of death. I'm tired of the black people like those in my family, who every time a black person is killed, we have to add another number to the millions that were died in the Middle Passage. I'm tired of the Muslims that have to keep adding to the death. We are for life. Healthcare is life. Taking care of women is life. Caring for children is life. Life. Living wages is life. And we cry in the streets today with sackcloths on our arms because this nation's heart is in trouble. We can save it, but we can't save it unless we first call an emergency. It's an emergency, y'all. So Shambe, would you come and begin singing? Those of you that are going back in, I want Wisconsin and Kentucky right behind us to let McConnell and
Tell our story, let it echo far and wide. Make them hear, make them hear. How justice was our battle and how justice was denied. Make them hear, make them hear. And say to those who blame us for the way we chose to fight, that sometimes there are battles which are more than black or white. And I could not put down my sword when justice was my right. Make them hear, make them hear. Go out and tell your story to your daughters and your sons. Make them hear, make them hear you. And tell them in our struggle we were not the only ones. Make them hear, make them hear you. Your sword can be a sermon for the power of the pen. Teach every child to raise his voice, and then my brothers learn. Will justice be demanded by 2 million righteous men? Make them hear you. When they hear you, holy near you,
health care. What do we want? When do we want it?
Now.
Education. What do we want?
Education.
When do we want it?
Now.
Living wages.
Living wages.
What do we want?
Living wages.
When do we want it?
Now.
Care for our children.
Care for our children.
What do we want?
Care for our children.
When do we want it?
Now.
Open up. 2 by 2.
Housing.
Housing.
What do we want?
What do we want?
Housing.
When do we want it?
Now.
Housing.
Housing.
What do we want?
Housing.
When do we want it?
Now.
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 If we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it,
Shut it down. Shut it down.
health care.
Healthcare.
What do we want?
Healthcare.
When do we want it?
Now.
Health care.
Healthcare.
What do we want?
Healthcare.
When do we want it?
Now.
Repeal.
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 The tax bill.
The tax bill.
Repeal.
Repeal.
The tax bill.
The tax bill.
Save.
Save.
Medicaid.
Medicaid.
Save.
Save.
Social Security.
Social Security.
Save.
Save.
Medicare.
Medicaid.
Put
Put
more money
more money
in education
in education
and housing
and housing
and health care
and healthcare
and living wage.
and living wage.
Not
Not
in war
in war
and bombs
and bombs
and missiles
and missiles.
Justice.
Justice.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
Justice.
Justice.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
Take care.
Take care
of our children.
of our children.
Take care.
Take care
of the women.
of our women.
Take care.
Take care
of the disabled.
of the disabled.
Do it.
Do it
Now.
now.
We won't.
We won't
Be silent.
be silent
Anymore.
anymore.
Somebody.
Somebody
Hurting.
hurting
The people.
the people.
Somebody.
Somebody
Hurting.
hurting
The children.
the children.
Somebody.
Somebody
Hurting.
hurting
The disabled.
the disabled.
We won't.
We won't
Be silent.
be silent
Anymore.
anymore.
No more.
No more
Silence.
silence.
No more.
No more
Silence.
silence.
Hear the cry
Hear the cry
of the people.
of the people.
Hear the cry
Hear the cry
of the pain.
of the pain.
Hear the cry
Hear the cry
of injustice.
of injustice.
Hear the cry
Hear the cry
of the women.
of the women.
Hear the cry
Hear the cry
of the children.
of the children.
It's time.
It's time.
Past time.
Past time.
Past time.
Past time.
What do we want? Justice. When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
Health care.
Health care.
What do we want?
Health care.
When do we want it?
Now.
Living wages.
Living wages.
What do we want?
What do we wages?
Living wages.
Living wages.
When do we want it?
Now.
When do we want it?
Now.
Education.
Education.
What do we want?
Education.
When do we want it?
Now.
Education.
Education.
When do we want it?
Now.
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 Justice.
Justice.
For
For
our immigrant
our immigrants.
brothers and sisters.
Brothers and sisters.
They work.
They work.
They give taxes.
They give taxes.
Give them citizenship.
Give them citizenship.
Let them vote.
Let them vote.
We want it
We want it
now.
now.
We want it
We want it
now.
now.
Take care
Take care
of First Nations.
of First Nations.
Take care
Take care
of the indigenous people
of the indigenous people
all over
all over
America.
America.
No longer
No longer
will we be separated.
will we be separated.
Give the homeless
Give the homeless
housing.
housing.
Give the sick
Give the sick
insurance.
insurance.
Give the working
Give the working
living wages.
living wages.
We want it.
We want it
Justice.
justice.
We want it.
We want it
Justice.
justice.
We want it.
We want it
Justice.
justice.
And we want it
And we want it
now.
now.
We want it
Marshall
want
Johnson.
it
now.
now.
We want it
We want it
now. We want it now.
See the state capitol.
Ain't gonna let
State capitol police.
Make a clear pathway, Marshall. We need a clear path.
Clear path.
Clear path.
Clear path. Clear path.
Clear. Clear. They need to clear.
Marching up to freedom land. Nobody turn me around.
We gotta clear. Everybody, even if you're media, I need you to go forward. But we gotta have a clear path. Marshals, you should be lined up against the side, y'all. Come on, y'all.
If you're in an orange vest, we need you on the side. We need you on either side, reminding folks to 2 by 2 down there, please. Not in front of the march, outside the march, all the way back, please. If you're in an orange vest, we need you down to the side, please.
My marshals, where are they?
Keep on walking. Keep on talking. Marching up to freedom. Ain't gonna let no Congress.
Ain't gonna let no Congress turn me around. Turn me around. Turn me around. Ain't gonna let no Congress turn me around. Ain't gonna keep on walking. Keep on talking. Marching up to freedom.
Ain't gonna let no legislator.
Gonna let no legislator turn me around.
Say
Turn
it.
me around.
Say
Stay close to the curb. Stay close to the curb. On the sidewalk. Stay close to the curb.
Keep on talking, marching up to freedom.
Ain't gonna let no tax bill.
No tax bill. Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no tax bill. Turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom.
Ain't gonna let no racism.
Gonna let no racism. Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no racism. Turn me around. We're gonna keep on walking, marching up to freedom land. Poverty.
Ain't gonna let no poverty.
Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no poverty. Turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom.
Ain't gonna let no president. Ain't gonna let
no president. Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no president. Turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom.
Ain't gonna let no racism.
Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no racism. Turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking.
All right.
Marching up to freedom way.
Say restore.
Restore.
The Voting Rights Act.
The Voting Rights Act.
Now.
Now.
Give us.
Give us.
Voting.
Voting.
Automatic.
Automatic.
Registration.
Legislation.
At 18.
At 18.
Give us.
Give us.
Multiple.
Multiple.
Days.
Days.
To vote.
To vote.
Protect.
Protect.
The women.
The women.
Protect.
Protect.
The children.
The children.
Protect.
Protect.
The disabled.
The disabled.
Health care.
Health care.
What do we want?
Health care.
When do we want it?
Now.
Living wages.
Living wages.
What do we want?
Living wages.
When do we want it?
Now.
Living wages.
Living wages.
What do we want?
Now.
When do we want it?
Now.
Give us.
Give us.
Clean water.
Clean water.
Now.
Now.
Build.
Build.
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
In poor communities.
In poor communities.
Now.
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 Care.
Care.
About the poor.
About the poor.
First.
First.
Now.
Now.
Save.
Save.
The heart.
The heart.
Now we're going this way. Of the nation.
Of the nation.
Now.
Now.
Save.
Save.
The heart.
The heart.
Of the nation.
The nation.
Now.
Now.
Too many.
Too many.
Are dying.
Are dying.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Now.
Now.
Too many.
Too many.
Are sick.
Are sick.
Without care.
Without care.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Now.
Now.
Too many.
Too many.
Of our children.
Of our children.
Don't have.
Don't have.
What they need.
What they need.
There's too much.
There's too much.
Greed.
Greed.
Too much.
Too much.
Power.
Power.
For corporations.
For corporations.
Stop.
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 Treating corporations.
Treating corporations.
Like people.
Like people.
And people.
And people.
Like things.
Like things.
It's time.
It's time.
For more revival.
For more revival.
In America.
In America.
Clean up the water.
Clean up the water.
Give us living wages.
Give us living wages.
Give us health care.
Give us health care.
Stop unjust tax policies.
Stop unjust tax policies.
Care for the immigrant.
Care for the immigrant.
Care for the indigenous people.
Care for the indigenous people.
Take away.
Take away.
Corporate welfare.
The corporate welfare.
And fund the programs.
And fund the programs.
That work. That work. For the poor. It's time.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time.
Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's far too long. Yes,
It's gone on far too long.
yes, it's gone on.
Far too long.
Oh, somebody
Hurt my
building a wall.
Somebody's building a wall, and it's gone on far too long. Tell me it's gone on far too long.
And it's
Gone on far too long. Somebody's building a wall, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore.
Somebody's robbing the people.
Somebody's robbing the people, and it's gone on far too long.
And it's
Gone on far too long.
Don't you know that it's gone on?
Far too long.
Somebody's
Robbing the people, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore.
Somebody's taking voting rights.
Somebody's taking up voting rights, and it's gone on far too long. It's gone on far too long. I tell you, it's gone on far too long.
Oh,
Somebody's taking our voting rights, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore.
somebody's hurting the people.
Somebody's hurting the people, and it's gone on far too long. It's gone on far too long. It's gone on far too long.
We're trying to go to independence.
Somebody's hurting the people, and it's gone on far too long.
Up onto the sidewalk, or you will be placed under arrest. You are illegally taking the street. Up on the sidewalk. This is your first warning.
So that is the first warning. So what usually happens here on one of these?
We want to go to independence.
Okay, so this is a police line I was just informed.
Mark.
They cut through this line. It's crossing the street.
Leave the roadway. You will be placed under arrest. This is your second warning.
We want to go to independence. And it's gone on far too long. And it's gone on far too long. And it's gone on far too long. Somebody.
United States Capitol Police. You're illegally blocking the roadway. If you do not leave the roadway, you will be placed under arrest. This is your last warning. Your last warning.
Be silent anymore. And we won't be silent anymore. And we won't be silent anymore. Healthcare.
What do we want?
What do we want?
Healthcare. On the sidewalk, or you will be placed under arrest.
Healthcare.
Healthcare.
What do we want?
Healthcare.
When do we want it?
On the sidewalk, or you
Living
will be
wages.
placed under arrest.
What do we want? Living wages. When do we want it? Now. Don't bunch up together.
Move back, spread out. Move back. 5 steps back. 5 steps back.
5 steps between each column.
You gotta be on the sidewalk?
Get in columns of 3. Columns of 3. 3 across. 3 across. 3 across. 3 across. 3 across.
You leaving this one?
Back up. Stretch it out. Stretch it out. Put 5 steps between you and the column in front of you. We're trying to go to independence. They've chosen to block us. We shall not be moved.
Not be moved.